And so, that's why I want to find somebody that can stay true to who they are and what they believe, and that can lead me. And so I'm not feeling like I'm constantly having to say no or push something. Like, I want a guy that can lead that strong and well. And I believe that the right one for me will never put me in that predicament. But yeah, I would like to. I truly think that I want my heart to be pure and my intentions. And I think that goes a lot further than just not being intimate with somebody.
So it's like you're dead set on that, or what?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. But it sounds like you found it hard to navigate that as it relates to dating, because maybe men hear about your past experience, or you relate to some degree about your past experience. You had a son, and they're like, I don't know,
Yeah. No, it's definitely one of the things that is always a hard topic on a first date. Most people that I have shared it with when I go out with them take it really well, or they don't understand and they kind of think it's like not a big deal. I think that's like the one thing that like bothers me the most, and it's like aggravating when people treat it like it's nothing. It's a child. It was a human being that grew in my body for 10 months. And, placing him was not easy. Or like when people say, oh, you just gave him away. I don't like that either. It's placing. And most guys like either take it really well and they're very respectful about it, or it's the complete opposite. And then I don't give anybody the time of day after that. So.
All right. Also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because it will forever be a part of my life. And so I need somebody that's going to honor, respect that, and, love my son even if they don't ever meet him.
You also said that you wanted to talk about purity and redemption. You used to think purity was a status you either had or lost, but now it's a daily decision to honor God with your heart, body, and boundaries, and that His grace is big enough to redeem any past. Do you categorize yourself as a born-again virgin?
No.
No.
Okay. I don't really think that's a thing.
Okay.
Because I do believe like I'm born again into salvation, and that, my old past has died with the past, and I'm living my new life now, honoring the Lord and walking in obedience. I think purity in that standpoint is intentions behind anything I say, anything I do, how a relationship is, friendship-wise, family, a serious relationship with a man that I would want to marry. I think it's also internally, like I want to be pure to God. In the Bible it says, blessed are pure in heart, for they will see God. And like that, I want that. And I don't want to have to take account one day from my life and say that I didn't uphold and honor that. Even though it is hard, and I will never be perfect in that department, but I will always do my best to walk in obedience with that.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, does that include like this new journey with Christ? Are you going to be voluntarily celibate until marriage? I'm just curious about the degree to which you're approaching relationships in this new light of Christianity and trying to find a man. Obviously, talking about your story, that's a difficult conversation that you've been having with people, but I was just curious about sexual relationships, again, trying to find a man that's willing to commit and be that leader and provider that's Christ-centered. Does that also include like being voluntarily celibate and making somebody wait?
Yeah. That's ideally what I would want. I would want someone too that at least has somewhat of the same mindset in that way, because I also believe that nobody is ever going to change for someone else. If they don't do it for God or themselves, what makes me think that they're going to do it for me? So that would never be something that I would want to pressure or push onto somebody, because it wouldn't last. And I would want them to honor that with their own heart and mind without somebody having to tell them to.
Would you feel it would be unfair if a guy who perhaps was initially interested in you, but he heard about some of your past, let's say it's a Christian guy, and he determined because of your past he didn't want to date you, let's assume he wasn't rude about it or anything, but would you think that this is unfair? Would you take issue with that in any sort of way?
I guess like it would depend on the situation of what would bother him. I think that everyone has the right to say no and reject somebody. Within, I guess, a Christian's perspective, I don't believe we should judge people for their lives or their past. Why I'm not going to be the first to throw a stone when I know I've done the same thing. So I don't know. I think if a guy were to say that, that is his right, his opinion to do that. And that also just shows that he wasn't the one for me. But it wouldn't bother me because, I would also consider things about somebody else's past as well. But I also do know that because I'm walking in a new path, that life doesn't define me. It doesn't own me, and it has no control over who I am and whose I am. And so, if he is looking at me for that, then I would maybe question, his relationship with God.
Well, I'm not an expert on Christianity, but we do have an expert somewhat in PhD, religious studies.
Yeah.
So question for you, Patrick. So my understanding is whether it's like a past of promiscuity or, we have some OnlyFans people here, if they were involved in sex work or, whatever it may be, anybody can be saved by Christ is my understanding, but men do not need to then disregard women's individual baggage and marry them. And these two things are compatible under the Christian faith. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the church, it's a hospital for souls, so it's not like we reject sinners. Everybody can be saved and everybody can bring the baggage. The point is to pick up your cross and follow Christ and try to get rid of that baggage and become more like Christ. But in regards to things that we do before we kind of make that transition or try to live our lives in that light, it all has consequences. And I think that that's the delineation here, is that there's consequences to our actions, but it's not that you can't be forgiven or be the ideal person that you choose to be in the future. And I think that delineation can be difficult to talk with people about because, if you are a man of high status and you have good values and you're ready to get married, it's important. Like choices that people make and the consequences that come with that are important because you're sharing a life together. And so obviously regarding OnlyFans and all this different stuff, one of the things that I was very conscious of is some of the work that's been done on how many sexual partners and the pair bonding and how that breaks down after 6. And I think that's a really big deal if you're trying to find somebody to have a long-term relationship with and a life with. Doesn't mean that is a marker in which you have to reject all people, and be very rigid. But it's a real conversation, and I think that's difficult to have with people. Is like, hey, I know that maybe the man that you're looking for has the qualities you're looking for, but also there's a conversation here, and him trying to live his life the best way means that he should have some say in the type of people that he chooses and who he's going to build his life with and who's going to be a great mother and steer his household.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you know who Nala Fitness is?
Yes, I do.
So I'm from the same agency as her, and I have the same manager as her.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about her? Because, I would like to do that one day, transition out of OnlyFans and get married.